Coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers. He won 60% of his games since taking over the helm in January of 2016. He is the only head coach to win a championship with the Cleveland Cavaliers and went to the finals in each of his 3 years with the team. Lou issued this statement saying, quote, "My time here in Cleveland was truly special. I am very grateful for the dedication, sacrifice, and support of all the players on our team, the tremendous coaches I work with, and of course, our incredible fans. Lastly, deep thanks to Dan Gilbert, David Griffin, Kobe Altman for the opportunity over the last 3 years. I only wish the organization success moving forward." So here it is. Kevin Love said, "You helped me see the big picture, life-changing experiences and teaching points. Nothing but love and admiration. Know we'll work towards something greater together again. Thank you." And there's that championship trophy. And LeBron James. T. Lou, thanks for the memories and more importantly, our partnership bringing the championship to that deserved city fan base. You know how to find me. One of the people Ty Lue mentioned, David Griffin, the GM of the Cavs, when Ty Lue was hired, is here now. Familiar face, friend of the program. Griff.
Got the memo? We're all
Look at this coordination.
I got a flip phone.
It's
That's why I didn't get the
Cavs
memo.
colors tonight because we knew you'd have a reason to come in. Hiring Lou clearly worked out. You won a championship together. Was this the right move at the right time for the Cavaliers?
Well, first of all, I'm going to be really clear. I'm not objective in this situation at all. I love Ty Lue like a brother. I'm here to a large degree because people know my name because we won a championship. And Ty did that taking over in the middle of a season for a coach who at the time was 30-11. So I don't get to determine whether or not this is a good decision or not. I'm the very last person that gets to judge coaching changes. I can tell you this, if there's no Ty Lue, there's no title. And I think it's really clear with what Kevin Love and LeBron James have already said that they feel the same way as well. He was exactly the right piece at the right time. And I think organizationally, you have to have that fit with your coach. We're seeing how valuable that is with Coach Budenholzer now in Milwaukee and how all those pieces work together. How Steve Kerr and all those pieces in Golden State work together. The human being that Steve is, the human Bob is, the human Steph Curry is, it all works together, right? They didn't feel like they had that connection. And it's the organization's responsibility to pursue what they believe is best. And Kobe Altman was dealt a very bad hand when he took over after I left. And I feel bad that I put him in that situation to a huge degree. I think he's handled that situation with class and dignity the best he possibly can. No, I don't feel good about this move. And yet at the same time, I understand why you do it as an organization. It's a completely different team and a completely different fit of the pieces now.
Well, Griff, we live in a world where firing equals bad. It means you didn't do your job, you didn't do something you were supposed to do. So can you speak to the people about how this could be a positive in both situations, that other coaches and other GMs have gone on to have successful careers after being fired?
Yeah, so it's fascinating. I look at it, to some degree, there's probably a sigh of relief on Ty's part. You know, when you've been coaching LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Love, it's a really difficult adjustment to go to coaching a very young team, and winning is not nearly as easy. So I think he's going to grow and get better from this experience because he was exposed to this. You know, it's really ironic when David Blatt took over our team. We were a team that at the time was incredibly young in a developmental phase, very similarly. We were able to get LeBron to come back, and it changed our timeline, and it changed the window. And all of our urgency became, let's win now, because he was on a one-year deal year after year. And so literally the only measure of success was win this championship, and everything else was failure. So Ty Lue takes over in the middle of a season. I believe he's the only person other than Pat Riley to take over in the middle of a year and win a title. He gets no love whatsoever for the fact that he's as good as anybody's ever been out of timeouts. Particularly in playoff games, he was magical. And when you see that, and he gets none of the love because LeBron and Kyrie and Kevin are so good, you wish that he could have the experience of coaching a team like this and people could figure out how good he really is. But to your question, Candace, I think the reason this can be a good thing is that if you're of the right spirit, if you're open-minded and accepting of the fact that you've got something you can learn all the time, and I know Ty Lue is, he's going to be better for this. And frankly, there are a lot of jobs right now that are similar to what the Cleveland job was when he took over. I'm going to imagine that he's very near the top of the line because the stars on those teams have talked to Kevin, they've talked to LeBron, and they know what he is all about.
You know, and I agree with you, Griff. I think he'll be fine. But bigger picture, when you look at this Cavs roster, the philosophy moving forward, they're facing some challenging times. We know they're not going to be a destination point for free agents. Their ability to draft is going to be critical, and whether or not they can get a really good deal. I got to believe that they're going to try to move Kevin Love in January. It's almost it almost has to happen in order for them to have any kind of a future, I believe. And I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on that moving forward.
Well, when they signed Kevin Love, I really felt like it was buying optionality to a huge degree. I know Kevin really wants to be part of what they're building in Cleveland, and I think Cleveland really wants Kevin to be there as well. You know, it's meaningful when a guy who is as good as Kevin Love is wants to marry himself to your organization because, GA, to your point, they're not a free agent destination. So when a multi-time All-Star and NBA champion wants to marry himself to your organization, you feel really good about that. But the contract he signed was a very good one. They worked together, Kobe and Kevin Love's camp, to ensure, I say his camp, it's his agent, obviously. And I feel like they've done a really good job of putting the contract together in such a way that they bought optionality. And if you are a team that's trying to win now, Kevin Love's piece of paper is a very attractive one. It's not an onerous number. It's not going to be in the 40s at any point. It's not one of those type of contracts. So I think they would be able to move him. The key is if they don't want to tank, they don't necessarily have to. They've got some young kids that they want to take a look at. I think Kobe and his staff are really interested in seeing some of the younger guys on this roster now. They're going to take a look at it, and I think Kobe will do a very good job of measuring the situation. And if there is an opportunity that makes sense, they'll capitalize. But I don't think this is going to be one of those situations where they sell out to strip it down. And I think to some degree it's because if you're going to play through the lottery, it's also really complicated to do that in a situation where you've got other young kids that are going to grow and not necessarily win. GA, you know this, if you're a point guard and you're Colin Sexton and we're going to learn whether or not, and Candace, you've been there, if we're going to learn whether or not you can win games as a young player, I need other good players on the court with you. Yeah. How do I judge a point guard if I get rid of Kevin Love for a ham sandwich and then put Colin Sexton in the position where he's got to win games? Now I don't really know at the end of the year whether or not Colin's a piece either. So it's not binary. It's somewhat more complicated than that.
If you were in the position today, what would your approach be with this team going forward?
You know, I'm not even going to try to answer that because all of the circumstances that have been brought to bear here, I'm not part of. I don't have a feel for the pulse of the locker room. I don't understand what they're going through in terms of what their mindset is. If their spirit is such that they want to try to take a run at winning, I think you can continue to do that. Nothing's going to befall you as long as Kevin stays healthy, right? And the other assets stay healthy. If you just play it out and wait for the right opportunity. And again, you could see them start to gather some momentum. Their schedule is very favorable now in the next few games. And I'm sure that played into the decision making as well.
I don't think it's as rosy or as optimistic there.
And I'm not trying to be overly optimistic.
I think they are tremendously challenged. And it's not just a matter of wanting to look at Seti or Colin Sexton, because even if they develop, I don't know that either is going to be an all-star caliber player. And so they're going to have to rebuild. They are, whether they try to tank or not, they are tanking.
Yeah, they're in the midst of it now.
They're not going to be very good this year. So the question is, what's the best scenario to allow us to have a bright future? And I don't see a scenario that makes sense as presently constructed where Kevin Love's a part of it. And I think partly why they did the deal with Kevin was for that optionality, so that they could potentially make a move and acquire maybe a couple first-round picks. Because at this point, that's all you're going to have to give your fan base. You know, and we all know Kevin Love's a terrific player. I mean, he's a stud. I think he's going to be a future Hall of Famer. Having said that, he's a complimentary star. And so for a guy of his talent, he's not good enough to be your best player and you be relevant. And so if I'm Cleveland, I'm thinking about what's my vision for our organization moving forward, philosophically. What style do we want to play? How do we want to go? And I think bigger picture, they got to be looking at finding a coach that can develop young players, because that's the other thing with Ty. Ty wants to coach, not teach. when you've gone to 4 straight finals and you've got a veteran-laden team, he can just basically say, we want to do X, Y, and Z, and a team can orchestrate that. When you got young players, you have to teach. And a lot of that player development is a tremendous challenge for veteran-savvy coaches. So Cleveland, Kobe's going to have he's got to figure that part out. And I'm not saying he may have a philosophy and a strategy moving forward, but it's going to be a painful one over the next couple of years.
Well, part of the strategy, I think, is that it was very possible LeBron was going to leave, and we knew that even back when I was there. Because he was signing contracts 1 year at a time without giving a long-term commitment, it was fairly obvious the writing was on the wall. At some point, the organization was going to need to pivot. So when you look at their books into the future moving forward, they've got very clean books, even with Kevin Love on the books. After this season, they're going to be very well positioned to actually take on players, get assets for doing it. They're going to be able to very quickly pivot to full rebuild. So they don't have to do that today. And the worst thing you do is if you make a deal with Kevin or you make a deal with any of your other veterans that are going to be appreciated by playoff teams, if you make any of those deals, you can't get pennies on the dollar for it simply because everybody says you have to start the rebuild. Again, it's not binary. Look at what Boston did. Boston played the long game over and over and over again. They never completely tanked. They got Jason Tatum with someone else's pick because they did this in a very long, sustained, mindful way. Cleveland can do the same thing. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. And because they were in a position financially, and we had always put ourselves in a position where if LeBron left, there was going to be a pivot available. And they have that now. And so if they watch their players this year and it works, which I think many are going to be skeptical of, then they're going to be in a good shape. And if it doesn't work, then they have to do what they always knew they were going to have to do all along. To your point about Ty Lue and the player development, I think Cleveland's going to really focus their efforts now on finding someone who brings in sweat equity, a la Kenny Atkinson in Brooklyn. Mm-hmm. He's done a magical job, in my opinion, in Brooklyn of establishing a culture of work and accountability. And that's what they need to do. You know, young players require that. You don't walk in the door knowing what you're supposed to do. You need somebody to show it to you. And the whole Cavalier existence was about this championship. It wasn't building an entire staff around player development. So it's going to take some time to get that done. LD is going to do a phenomenal job in the short term as a coach, and if he wants to be there long term, I believe he could build a terrific player development staff as well. But that's not what their focus has been on. So GA, you're right, it's going to take some time. Yeah.
So when you say that, it seems as if players like Rodney Hood or Jordan Clarkson or Larry Nance or Colin Sexton, those are going to be the guys that are going to get the majority of the minutes. So what do you do with some of those other veterans on the team right now, like Kyle Korver or even a J.R. Smith? Do they still have value in the trade market?
It's fascinating to me, and I care about all of these guys for the most part. I know them all well. George Hill I wasn't with, but the other guys there on the far right I know very well. All of them, I think, are willing to play whatever role needs to be played. I think Kyle Korver is certainly somebody who's going to be in demand. I also think because Kyle is as meaningful to that organization he is and is as good a human being as he is, if he's not open-minded to being traded, they may not do it. But he's going to be a target. When you're a marksman like that, I look at a team like Philadelphia right now. How badly could they use Kyle Korver spreading the court for Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid? He's going to be a target. The question is really, is there an opportunity that makes sense for Kyle and his family? And that's difficult to balance sometimes.
Ty Lue out as head coach with the Cleveland Cavaliers.